The guy you see wedged between two rocks is me, desperately trying for over 20 minutes to pull an octopus out of its den. But I am tired, cold, and I have been in the water for more than 4 hours now. It wasn't supposed to go like this. My intentions were very different. I wanted to introduce you to the wonders of this island, its geology, the beauty of its seabeds, and the thousands of fish that inhabit them. And instead, no, I am forced to start my story right here, in the worst of situations, with my backside facing the camera. For those who do not know it, Sant'Antioco is an island located southwest of Sardinia. It is connected to the mainland by a narrow strip of land on which a two-lane road now runs. The Romans had already thought of this, and this is what remains of the original bridge. Meanwhile, to the right, you can see the lagoon with its flamingos, clams, and sea bass. And in the background, the town of Sant'Antioco. And for those who don't know us, this is us, Mariano, geologist and professor, and I, a pilot and lover of the sea. As in the best traditions, the forecasts were not accurate. The sea is incredibly clear. I am excited to find a spot, to see what lies beneath. The first cove where we stopped is Salina Beach, near Calaseta. But here the sea is definitely too calm and clear to try fishing. Walking along the narrow streets of the island lined with typical white houses featuring blue fixtures, we move further along the high volcanic cliffs, where the characteristic red rocks are found.
If you observe the lava formation closely, you can see the flow structures, and then the usual cracks caused by cooling.
Here, the vegetation is typical Mediterranean scrub, which has remained low due to the strong Mistral winds that influence its growth during the winter. Like this juniper, which is actually very old, but has remained practically a bonsai.
I always ask to carry as much as a mule, so I brought everything with me. After that, I change and go fishing with Mariano. And finally, I enter the water. The water is cold, but I'm in a 7mm jacket and 5mm pants.
Because here I really don't know what I will find. I head to the left, because to the right there is another diver. Hello Maria, enjoy your meal. Hello Matteo, take care of the whale. And finally I enter the water. It's been months since I last dove, and I have to gradually catch my breath. The water is quite cold. I put on a 7mm jacket or 5mm pants. It's been months since I last dove, and I have to gradually catch my breath. The seabed is truly wonderful, almost better than I expected. And I hurry to load the spear gun. First the harder elastic and then the green one, which is softer and easier to stretch. Now the idea I have is to make many small underwater ambushes along the entire coast, and perhaps occasionally try some deeper aspects. Right away, I see some bream approaching without much fear, a good sign. And since I'm here, I take the opportunity to pass in front of Mariano and have him throw me a camera that I didn't bring, but that could be useful. Meanwhile, Mariano has already started fishing, and while making a very quiet ambush, I try to understand what fish have approached. But I don't see much. This is a bad sign, with only a few mullets and some very small sea bream. In reality, there are no large and interesting fish. It's better to leave and not disturb poor Mariano, who is fishing now, since it's winter, and especially since the sea is a bit rough and there is low pressure. I expect to find various fish. First of all, I hope to find the breams, which should be plentiful here, then the sea bass, and I hope for some barracuda or dogfish. But all I see are salps, and there are so many of them. Many people don't like them, but I really enjoy eating these fish, especially if I catch them underwater, and particularly if I can clean them right after I've hit them. In this case, there is a huge school approaching. I aim for the largest one and shoot. The rifle is definitely accurate, and I hit her perfectly where I wanted. When you shoot at these huge schools of fish, do not aim randomly, but aim for a single fish and then shoot. Otherwise, you will surely miss. I reload the gun again and check the setup since I had modified some weights along the handle. Now I must say it's perfect. I just need to find the fish.
But despite all my attempts, and this being about the 20th dive I've made, apart from the salps, I can't see anything. No bream, no sea bass, no barracuda, nothing at all. The only interesting thing is some bogue that are found mid-water, and are excellent bait fish. Usually, when they are present, there could also be large predators. It is worth trying to set up some ambushes a little deeper. Since the seabed here drops from 10 to 15 meters, I need to remove some weight, and I take off the second belt. In winter, in fact, with the heavy wetsuit, it is necessary to carry a bit more weight to fish in shallow water. But now, it is important to be lighter. After the large boulder, where the schools of salpa are feeding, the seabed drops sharply. And here I want to try making a few dives and peeking over the edge of the square rock. If you hear my breath, it's because I am taking in air. Before a slightly more challenging dive, it is indeed necessary to take the right amount of air to avoid running out once at the bottom. The descent is shown at 4 times the speed, and once at the bottom there are huge schools of chromis, but they are calm, an unmistakable sign that the predators are unfortunately not around. But it's not just the predators that are absent. Today there is really nothing, except for the chromis and the bogue that can be seen on the right. I go around the rock, but once again, the only thing I see are the salves. After about 30 seconds, I try to come out into the open to see if any predators approach, curious about the presence of the salves, but nothing. I try another couple of dives. I ascend, breathe for about 4 or 5 minutes, and then descend again to a depth of about 10 meters. Now, the real problem isn't so much the 10 meters, nor is it the fact that he is out of shape, but rather the cold. In fact, staying still on the bottom waiting for a fish to arrive, but which actually does not come, really makes you feel the cold. And I am here, looking around, with nothing happening. The only truly interesting thing is seeing all the vegetation on these rocks. But there is a reason, and Mariano had explained it to me.
Look at these rocks here. They are excellent for marine life because they degrade easily, are rich in minerals, and become a great substrate where algae and all organisms can colonize and find refuge.
Mariano is always right, but he couldn't predict that there would be no fish today. And I assure you, I am really trying. After retrieving my belt and making another 500 ambush attempts, I even slip into the foam and the waves, hoping to find some sea bass. But where have the sea bass gone? In doing so, I also forget to be careful of the strong suction currents that form. Like in this case, where I am literally dragged between these 2 rocks and can no longer do anything. But fortunately, I managed to grab onto a rock and not shoot myself, eventually managing to get out. So, if you do it, don't do like me and try not to bring 18 cameras while acting foolishly near the coast. Now, aside from a few minor inconveniences, 2 hours have already passed, but I have seen nothing but salps, more salps. And perhaps I have already told you, salps. And do you remember the stacks that we saw at the beginning with Mariano? Well, I swam there, and here I expect to finally find something. But even here, I try a couple of spots on a seabed that ranges from 12 to 15 meters. At 15 meters, and yet no, I see nothing. Nothing new. But how is that possible? So I start to explore the cliffs more carefully, and I see something along the wall. It is an octopus, in obvious difficulty, that I try to catch with my hands. This octopus has just fought with what appears to be a moray eel. In fact, it is missing a tentacle and is injured near the head. It is too small, and I don't want to keep it. It already has another tentacle that has reformed in the past, probably also due to an attack from a moray eel. Afterward, it calms down, and I quietly let it go. Bye. But speaking of octopuses, do you remember? This was the beginning of the video, with me crawling into a den. But how did I end up there? Well, on the way back, I had caught a glimpse of something shiny. It was a shell, and I decided to dive only on the way back. I had already seen it on the way there. And since I was there, I thought, why not take a look around? So I looked this way, and that, and under a rock, I saw it. Here I am, damn it. Couldn't I just mind my own business? This is really a nice octopus, and I decide to shoot. Fatal mistake. I actually think I can pull it out in a few seconds. Instead, no, because the den is very deep, and the octopus burrows in with all its tentacles. I already know that I am in for a long day. and now I have to stay there trying to pull it out tentacle by tentacle. And to do this, I am forced to make long dives and repeated jumps, and I try to push with my knees against the rock, but it will take more than 10 dives to pull out this octopus. Here, I finally did it, but now I am really cold. I am extremely tired, and I can't wait to get out of the water. On top of that, the camera has also run out of battery. But it is right now that something incredible happens. Probably attracted by the smell of the octopus's blood, a couple of moray eels begin to emerge from their dens and surround me. I have indeed threaded the octopus onto the line that I have on my belt, and the moray eels can surely smell it and approach without any fear. Do you understand how important smell is for fish? These predators have calmly emerged from their lairs to see if they can snag a free bite.
This dive has been a torment. I haven't seen a fish, except for tons of salps. Look, I not only saw nothing, I only shot at one salp. And this beautiful octopus, but just that one. How is it possible that there is nothing here? Where have all the fish of Sardinia gone? I think we need to make a special video about this. And while I take a walk to discover what the waves have brought to shore, I reflect on what has been the worst season for fishing at sea.
Despite being in a fantastic place and the conditions being right, no fish has been seen. Mariano even baited for a couple of hours, but aside from the bogue, he didn't catch anything. Sardinia, which offers incredible and wild landscapes, is unfortunately proving to be one of the least fish-rich places I have lived. Or perhaps it is simply the sea that is changing. But this is a topic I will explore in the upcoming videos. But however it went, diving and discovering unknown places is always an incredible experience.